Hello and welcome to this video recording for SAM Excel Project 2. Log into the SAM website using your student account. This is Big Red student account for this video. You'll have your name there. If you're already logged in on another machine, you get this message. No problem there. Just go ahead and let it know that you're going to log yourself off the other machine to keep working here. So academic calendar and academic list. I like the academic list view. Find the Excel2 project. Click on the Excel2 project. You get a little dialog box that'll tell you that you're allowed 5 attempts. That's great. We're getting ready to make our first attempt on this. And our 1, 2, 3 appears. Our 1 is our instructions, 2 is the start file, and 3, we're going to upload our results when we're done. So let's get these files. Download the instructions. On my machine, when I click that, it prompts me where to save the file. And I choose to save mine on the desktop. And let me go ahead and open that file up now that I've saved it and see what we've got here. The yellow protected view bar appears across the top. I can get rid of that yellow bar by clicking Enable Editing. The protected view lets you look at the file and make sure that it's what you think it is so that you know it's safe to look at it. You don't want to open up files that you don't know where they're from or what's going on. And there's some housekeeping at the beginning that we talked about with the first video. The main thing being that we want to get the step 2, the start file, that's going to have your name _1 at the end of the start file and change that to be your name _2. And it'll end with a .xls extension. If your machine doesn't show you the extension, then the extensions are hidden, but they're there. You don't need to type in the XLS extension, but you do need to change the 1 to a 2 at the end of the file name. You also want to make sure that your name appears in cell B6 of the documentation sheet. So let's go back to our browser here and get that start file. Again, mine chooses to save on the desktop. I'm going to go ahead and change the file name from 1 to 2 at this point, and then open that file up. Nice yellow bar for protected view. I want to go ahead and enable that. Enable this. This is what I want it to be. I see that the file name is student name _2.xls. That's what I want to see across the top. On the documentation sheet, there in cell B6, I see the student name Big Red. So we're right where we want to be here, ready to do this project. Step 1 of our project. You're an assistant manager at Rough Stitch Clothing, a boutique clothing store. The store owner has asked you to generate a report detailing financials of the store from 2018 to 2021, and at the same time to format the store's staff list. So switch to the profit analysis worksheet and apply the office theme to the workbook. So let's go back to here. Let's go to the profit analysis worksheet and let's apply a theme, the office theme, to our workbook. So our themes are in the page layout tab on the far left over here, and we're wanting to do the office theme. So when I select on the themes, I can see that this very first one is office, facet, integral, and it's currently facet. I want to change it. I can see because facet's highlighted. I want to change it to be office and select that. And now when I click on the themes, I can see that office has been selected. So that changed the default font and a few other things for us. Step 2 says, update the column and row sizes in the worksheet as described below. Change the width of column A to be 15 and apply auto fit to row 1 so that the row height is the best fit for the contents it contains. So first, let's change the width of column A to 15. So here's column A, and I want to change it to 15. I do this by selecting the column heading up here where it says A, and then right-click, and you can specify column width. When I select column width, it gives me the current value, which is 13.14. I'm going to replace that by typing in 15 and saying OK. So column width A is now 15. Part B says to auto-fit row 1 so that the row height is the best fit for the contents it contains. Now an auto-fit is where I can manually resize this to be much bigger or much smaller, but instead of manually resizing it or typing in a value, I could right-click and say row height, and I could type in 15 and make it very, very large. Oops, or that wasn't very large actually. Row height, I could type in 80 and make it large. But the instructions tell us to do autofit. And the way autofit works is Excel will give a best fit. It'll automatically give you a best fit. And the way you do that is you click the space between the rows that you're wanting to switch. So I want to, between 1 and 2, I want to autofit here, and I put the cursor between those. I get a little cursor icon that looks like that, and by double clicking on that space, it'll autofit to be just the right height for the largest, the tallest thing in that entire row 1 across the entire document. Step 3 says, in cell B9, create a formula using the sum function to total the values from B5 to B8 to determine the 2018 sales across all departments. So B9 use the sum function. So here's B9, and I want to use the sum function for all from B5 to B8. So we do that in Excel. Formulas and functions begin with an equal sign to get Excel's attention. And in this case, I'm using a pre-built function sum. So equals sum. And you can see that Excel gives us a pop-up of some of the common functions, all the functions that begin with these first 3 letters. I want to do just the basic sum, not sum if or sum SQ or a couple of these other options. And after the name of the function, you use a left parenthesis, and then you specify the arguments or the cells that you want the function to apply to. So left parenthesis, and I'm just going to highlight using the cursor, dragging over, and select those cells B5 to B8. And I'm going to manually type in the right parenthesis. I think Excel's smart enough to figure out if you just press enter without typing the right parenthesis, but it's a good idea to type the right parenthesis anyways. So the sum of B5 to B8. And when I press enter, it replaces that formula with the actual sum of 150,200 plus 123,615 and 85,680 and 75,000, and gives us that total of 434,495. Format the range. Oh, I'm sorry. Step 3 still says, I missed this part here, copy the formula you just created in cell B9 across the range C9, D9, and E9 to calculate the total cells for those years. So take this formula and use the copy in the bottom right corner of that formula. There's that little square box. If I put the cursor on it, my cursor changes and it lets me know that I can do a formula copy that way. So now I've got what I had, the sum. This was the sum of the 2018. I now have the sum of 2019 data, 2020 data, and 2021 data. All those, I don't have to retype those. Excel copied all those for me. Step 4. Format the range B9 to E9 using the accounting number format with 0 decimal places and the $ symbol. And there's a little hint here that says depending on how you complete this action, the number format may appear as custom instead of accounting when we're finished. So we're doing accounting with 0 decimal places for B9 to E9. So B9 to E9, we're going to do the accounting format. That's in the Home tab. Here in the number group, from the drop-down list, we want to say accounting. Now by default, I've got a $ in 2 decimal places. And I can see that it says accounting, and I can see that there's a $ in 2 decimal places. I want to change this so that there's no decimal places. And I can do it by minimizing the decimals here, or I can do the more option, and I can minimize the decimals here. Either way, I'm going to get the same result. Now when I do this, this accounting here may or may not have changed on your version, depending on how you did that. And just to see if I use this decrease, so I just did an undo and I'm doing the decrease here. By using the decrease button, it changes to custom instead of accounting, but that will still be okay. It looks different in this window by doing the decrease, but it still will be okay. If I want to be super safe, I'll do the accounting option, and in the more window, I'll say 0 decimal places. Then I know, because I can see it's showing accounting here with 0 decimal places, I know I'm doing it right that way, but I'm pretty sure both would work. That's what the hint says, that both will work. Step 5, change the fill color of the range A9, E9 so that it fills yellow, which is the 4th column, 1st row of the standard colors palette. the fill color of A9 to E9. So A9 to E9 is right here. Select that range. And then in the home group in the font option, we have this fill color option. And we're using the fill color option of yellow. And I think yellow is actually the default here, so I could click this. But just to be safe, I'm going to click the down arrow and get more options and come into the standard colors, come over and find yellow there, and I get the little pop-up hint that tells me that it's yellow, so I know I'm getting the right one, and I'll apply it. Step 6 says, apply a top and thick bottom border to the range A9, E9. So A9, E9 is selected. If they weren't selected, I would go back and select them again. And then I want to do a top and thick bottom border. Now that's a specific border type. So it isn't subjective. Thick is a subjective phrase, but the top and thick bottom border is not subjective. That's a specific capital letter name, capital T, capital T, capital B, top and thick bottom border. That's a specific style. If I look at it, I see that there is a line across the top and a thicker line across the bottom. So I've applied that capital T top and capital T thick, capital B bottom, capital B border, cell border style. Step 7 says you want to calculate some business statistics, average, highest, and lowest sales figures for each year across all departments. And we're going to do this first by going into cell B10 and creating a formula using the average function to calculate the average sales across all departments from the range B5 to B8 in 2018. So let's do that part first. So I'm going to go down to B10, and I'm going to calculate the average of all the sales from B5 to B8. Now, I'm going to use the average function, and to use the function, I need to say equals to get Excel's attention, and then the name of the function, average, and then a left parenthesis to specify the cells that are going to be in it. So a left parenthesis, and now I want to specify the cells, and it was B5 to B8 that we want to place in there and close the right parenthesis. When I enter that, it does the average for me. B5 to B8, right? B5 to B8. Then use the fill handle to copy that average formula we just created in B10 across C10 to E10. So again, when the formula is there, the lower right hand corner allows me to do a copy. I'm going to drag that across, and now I've got the average for 2020 and 2021, 2019. All those averages are right there for me. Okay. By the way, whenever you look at this and it pops up, escape is the key, or anytime you do anything in Excel, escape is the key. It'll take you back to a known safe state if something weird seems to be going on. So use the escape key with confidence when you're working with Excel and something looks weird on the screen. Escape's your friend. Escape key is your friend. Step 8, in cell B11, create a formula using the max function to determine the highest sales figures across all departments in the range B5 to B8 in 2018, and then copy that formula to C, D, and E. So we're using the highest function in B11, the max function in cell B11. So in cell B11, we're using the max function, so equals max, left parenthesis. The cells that we're looking are still B5 to B8 again, right parenthesis, and enter that. B5 to B8, just confirming it. And then we are copying this formula across columns C, D, and E. And step 9 now is to use the min function for B5, B8 and copy that across. Equals min cells B5, B8, and then copy that across. Very good. Step 10. You need to determine the profit generated each year across all departments. In cell B22, create a formula without using a function. So you have to do it manually using addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and cell references, not a pre-built function like sum or max or min. Create a formula to total the expenses for 2018, or to subtract the total expenses of 2018 from the total sales for 2018. So B9 is going to be the value, and I'm going to subtract from that B19. Then I'm going to type that in cell B22 and then copy it across the other columns. So B22 is going to be the B9 sales minus the B19 expenses. I'll double check that we did that right. B19 and B9, that's correct. Excuse me. They say this a little bit backwards here, but we're subtracting B19 from B9. The way we'd actually type that is B9 minus B19. And here's the formula. When you select the cell, the formula, you can see it because the cell shows me the results of the formula. But if I want to see the actual formula itself, I can go up here into the formula bar and see the actual value of the cell. And then to copy that across columns, oops, escape is my friend whenever something weird is happening. Copy this across columns C, D, and E. Step 11. You want to visually highlight any year with a loss, a negative profit. We're going to do this by applying a conditional formatting rule to the ranges B22 to E22 as described below. We're going to use the new rule option. If you're a Mac user, classic from the style list box. So this is not Mac, so I can't show you that. But if you're a Mac user, use that hint. For us Windows people, we're going to use the new rule option, and we're going to select the rule type, format only cells that contain, and change the rule description to be format only cells with cell values less than 0 with a red fill color. Okay, so there we go. A new rule, format only cells that contain, and change it to only cells with less than. So first we have to highlight the range B22 to E22. So here's B22 to E22. Then we're doing a conditional formatting option. And under our conditional formatting options, we are doing the new rule option. So new rule is here. And under new rule, we've got some rule types. Format all cells based on their values, format only cells that contain, top, bottom, and so on. So only cells that contain are what we're instructed to do on part B, and then part C says to change it further to be only cells with a cell value less than 0 and use the red fill color. So only cells not between but less than, and less than, I'll just type in 0 here. And then the way we're going to format it is we're going to format it using the red fill color. Change the rule description to format only cells less than 0 with a red fill color, which we got from the standard colors palette. Step 12, and what this shows us, by the way, is you can, the one that's negative, those parentheses tell us it's negative, but it didn't necessarily stand out as much. By having the conditional formatting there, it stands out in a big way, makes it easier to see. Step 12, modify the worksheet as described below. Change the page orientation of the worksheet to be portrait and change the margins to be narrow. So for this worksheet, I'm going to change under the page layout option, I'm going to change the format to, let me see what I'm doing there. Yes, make sure I get the page orientation to be portrait and margins to narrow. So the orientation is here under the page layout, make it portrait. And under the margins drop down, I'm going to select the narrow option. That'll affect not the way it looks on the screen, but what it looks like when we print it. Step 13, add a header to the worksheet and then enter rough stitch clothing profit analysis in the center section of that header. So here's our text that we're going to type in. I'm going to select that and copy it. And we're going to add a header to the worksheet, and the center section is going to have this text. In the page layout tab, in the page setup, in the more area in the lower right hand corner, when we select that, we can see the tabs here for page, margins, header and footer, and sheet. In the header part, I'm going to select the custom header, and then in the custom header there's a left, center, and right, and I will now type or paste that rough stitch clothing profit analysis in the center section of the custom page header. Return to normal view. Step 14. Click on cell A1 and then check the spelling to identify and correct any spelling errors on the worksheet. You should find and correct at least one spelling error. Okay, spelling is in the review. So on the review tab, select spelling, and payroll. I want to change this, so I'm going to find the correct spelling that I want, payroll, and select change. And do you want to continue checking? Yes, and I didn't find anything else, but I did find the one that the instructions said I should find. Switch to employee discount worksheet. Rough Stitch Clothing offers employees discounts based on how long the employee has worked at the store. All employees forgot to enter their employee ID, so you need to input this information. The ID of an employee consists of the first letter of his or her first name and the last name together, followed by a dash. The first two letters of the department, followed by a dash, and the department code. For instance, in cell D4, enter the text MA-WO-10010, then select the range D3, D7, and use the flash fill to fill the range. For Mac users, you've got your own hint on how to do this. For Windows users, be sure to preserve the formatting in the range D3 to D7. So switching back to Excel, go into the Employee Discount tab. These employee IDs are what they're talking about, and they tell us that in D4 we have to go ahead and enter this next employee's ID. Now it's the first letter of the first name and last name, so Maria Angeles would be MA dash. The first two letters of the department, WO dash, and then the department code is 010. So I enter that. Then I want to use flash fill to get the rest of these values. Now to get the flash fill, I'm going to go into the groups up here into the data group. And actually, I don't know if that's the same as quick and out. I don't think that's what I want there. So I'm going to take the these values here, and I'm going to do flash fill on those. And when I do flash fill, it shortcut completes that. Now our instructions told us that if you're a Mac user, it doesn't have that option. So you'll have to type in all of those employee IDs for all 5 employees or the remaining 3 employees. But the Windows users, we can use that flash fill. Now for 5 employees, it's not a big deal. But if you had 50 or 100 or 500, this idea of recognizing a pattern is a neat little feature of Office 2016. Step 16 says, and we're almost done here, 16, 17, 18. Step 16 says, in the range F3 to F7, show each employee's discount, and the range shows it, but we're supposed to format the range using percentage number format with 0 decimal places. So F3, F7, F3, F7, it is the percentage, but we want this format to be percentage. So going under the home, back to the home tab, we want to do the percentage option. I could just click the percentage icon here, or I could find percent from the drop-down list. I'll just click the percentage icon. And I see it's got percent with 0 decimal places, and our instructions said to use percentage format with 0 decimal places, so we're good. Step 17, format the date value in cell B9 to be a short date. So B9 is a date value, but it's got Wednesday, August 23rd, 2017, and I want to use the short date option. And in my list of drop downs, I have the short date option, which is just number / number / number. Change the page orientation of the worksheet to be landscape. So on this sheet, I'm going to go under page layout, and the orientation, I'm going to make it landscape. Again, we can't see that here, but if we were to do a print preview, we would see the effect of that. Your workbook should look like the final figure, and I see the red font there for the conditional formatting, and I see the short format there and the percentages there. The numbers, the actual date values are going to be a little different because it's going to be your date there. That's fine, but I see date number slash year, so that month, day, year. So that all looks great. So I think we're ready. Save your changes, close the workbook, and exit Excel. A good idea. Make sure you're submitting your most recent work is to save it and close your workbook and exit Excel. And then go back to the browser and upload the file and submit it. So make sure you upload the correct file name. It's got the 2A big red underscore 2. Not big red, but of course your name there. Submit, I should get the 3 check marks. That means it checked the file name and everything is good. And then go into the Reports tab. Find the Excel2. If you have more than one submission, make sure you get the most recent submission by date and time if you have more than one. And click on the report and see how you did. It gives you a file called report_1. And when you open up that file, report_1, it adds a tab at the beginning that has your score. In this case, we got 100 out of 100. You can view the steps you missed. There'll be a red X by the steps you missed, and you can resubmit up to 5 attempts per project.